So what's up, people on the interwebs? Hope you're having a good day. My name is Kirsty and I recently moved to Japan a couple months ago. Now in today's video we're going to talk about banking in Japan. So I did hear before that banking is hard work, but I did kind of think in general, well, banking is just hard work in general, so I thought that would be the case. And it is true and false. Banking in Japan is somewhat hard work, but I think it's more harder for being a foreigner. I think if you have like your residence or if you are someone who's born in Japan, then banking is the same stress as everywhere. But for being a foreigner, there is an extra step of frustration. And also a few things I didn't realize about banking in Japan that is a bit different from the rest of the world. So let's just dive into a few of these topics. So the first things first that I didn't realize is banking in Japan is very prefectural. So each prefecture in Japan, which if you don't know what prefecture is, it's basically each kind of county of the whole country of Japan. So each little prefecture of Japan, they have their own banking system, or they have one main big banking company in that prefecture, and they only really work in that prefecture alone. And then, so for an example, where I am is Ehime. The biggest bank here is IO Bank, and then if you go to somewhere like Tokyo, then the biggest bank is something like Tokyo Bank, something like that. But each area has their own different banking system, or one big bank is used in that prefecture alone. There is still other banks in that area, but they're just smaller. So one bank has like the big capital in the area. Every banking is different, so some of the things that I can't do, it is just a prefectural problem. So someone else in a different prefecture won't have some of the same issues that I face. So I think for the banking in Ehime it's okay, it's just don't be a foreigner, because for IO Bank there's just a few more kind of extra rules, or they're just kind of not happy to give more things to foreigners. It might be because of the flight risk, but you can still do banking. It's just going back to, I kind of give it, it's very like early 2000 banking. I find like I'm struggling to do online banking at the moment. We can't get that to work. If it changes at all, I will leave a comment down below. But for my banking, it's basically, I've just been given a cash card, so I can only get cash or put money into my bank account. And we actually have an old-fashioned bank book, so for me to keep up with my transactions, I have to make sure when I go to the ATM to either pull cash out or put cash in, to put the book in so it can update all the transactions that have gone. You can still use this for a few online things. It is a cash card, so you can't use it as a debit card, so I can't use online transactions with it. You can do, so if you want to pay your bills through your bank account, then you can use the cash card to link it with like paying bills, or like gym memberships. You can do like a bank account transfer. So for those kind of things, you can link it to the bank account, which is pretty good, but it's just very old-fashioned style. Also as well, if you don't want to pay your bills through your bank account, when you actually get your bills, before you even set up the bank account, what they'll do is they'll send you the bill to pay it, and you can actually go to the local convenies to pay your bills. So that's kind of another option as well. If you have any kind of issues with like your bank account and you still need to pay your bills, if you've got the cash, you can go to convenies to pay, which is very good. But that's kind of one thing with IO banking. For me, it's a very basic banking. Like I can just have a bank account and a cash card, and that's pretty much it. We have tried to get debit cards, or I tried to get one, because when you go on the website, it did say you can get debit cards, and I went to the bank, tried to get it, filled all the paperwork, did everything, felt very proud with the little Japanese I had, and the staff in there were amazing. They are really helpful. They helped me go through the paperwork. But the second I did it, I got rejected, because unfortunately they don't give debit cards to people on a working visa. It's only people, if you are a foreigner, you have to have at least been here for 10 years so you can get your permanent residence visa, So those are the only ones they give it to. You have to be here for 10 years. If you're on any kind of visa that's under 10 years and you haven't been here, they won't give you a debit card, which is very annoying, because if you want to like buy stuff on Amazon or do any kind of shopping and you want to pay with a debit card, it kind of restricts that, because the cash card won't let you do any kind of transactions with the ATM machine. It is literally just getting cash out, or you can set up a bank transfer, and that is it with the banking I have. Online banking, again, this could change because it does say we can get it, but at the moment a lot of it's in Japanese and we are in the process of trying to doing it, but we have not been successful. Again, it wouldn't surprise me if we can't get it because of the foreign element, but if that ever changes, I will put in the comments down below. I have got online banking and it has worked. But again, these are just problems in this area alone, because there's other people I spoke to who live in different regions and their bank has been able to give them a debit card. Even some of it's, again, it all depends on their rules. Like one area which I'm kind of think where she lives, but she's the prefecture just above Tokyo, and they have given her a debit card nice and easy, no problems. And then another person I know in Nagasaki, they've given them a debit card, but they have to pay the equivalent of like £3 every year for it. So each banking has its own different rules. So when you get here and wherever you get put, just check on the website for the bank what their kind of rules and stipulations is, or even just go in and ask as well when you come here, because even if you don't know any Japanese, you know, with Google Translate, and everyone in the banks are helpful and they are willing to help. And also for the website, for when I did it, this is why the internet's amazing, because you can translate it to English, so you can get enough idea of what that bank will offer. So that's kind of one sort of nice and minor nice thing with Japan. It's very, depending where you are placed, you might have more options for banking or less, but you can still get around with buying things, because if you can't get a debit card, then you can set up transactions. So you can go to the convenience to pay. Same thing with Amazon, you can set it for the item to go to your local conveni, and then you can pay for cash for the item at the conveni, or at the conveni you can buy like the Amazon gift cards, and then you can buy things online that way. But if you really want a debit card, because a debit card's very handy for doing any like shopping in person, when you just want to tap with a card instead of using cash, or even when you want to go explore more of Japan and you want to buy a hotel room and you want to put on a debit card. For a really good international card, I really recommend Wise. This is the bank account I'm using to get an international debit card. So they're really good because obviously you can, from your home country, you can move money from there into your online account and change it to yen. And also the nice thing is any money you're making in Japan on the ATMs, there's an option to transfer the money from your bank account into your Wise account. I'll put a link down below, the Wise steps for how to do the ATM transfer, so it will go to your Wise account, since it is very helpful. And to be honest, this has saved me quite a lot of hassle, because I'm a person, for the program I am, the job I'm with at the moment, I'm very much up for doing it for 5 years, because that's the longest you can do it for. But when I was having this card trouble for not being able to get a debit card, I was thinking this could change my plans, because if I can't do banking properly, or can't even get a simple debit card, because I do find for the bank I use in Japan, I do think it's a little bit silly that they don't give foreigners debit cards. If it was a credit card, I can understand, that's a flight risk, we could basically rack a big bill and go. But a debit card, you can easily set it so you can't have an overdraft, and basically whatever money you have in your bank account, that's all you can use on that card. I don't really understand their logic for why they won't give a debit card to foreigners, but that's their policy. I don't understand why, but I will accept that is the bank's policy. But yeah, if you are a foreigner, I really recommend Wise, because this has saved my butt and has made living out here a lot easier, because I can still do transactions online. I can buy Amazon, I can book hotels, I can buy things online. And it's also quite nice because I have the option, I can take money from my Japan bank, put it onto Wise, change it back into pounds, and then I can send money back to my UK account. So I like that I have that option, that I can still send money back home, and it is saving me a lot of hassle. Obviously, with a lot of these kind of, when you take money from one account to transfer it to yen, Wise does take a small percent, and some people do whinge about the percent. It depends on how much money you pull out, because the most it has charged me is 500 yen for a transaction for when I move my yen into my Wise account. But honestly, for me, I'm happy with the fees. For me, I just call it the stress-free fee, since it just kind of saves any headaches or things to just cause me more stress in Japan, since I don't have to worry about sending money back home or having money to buy things online, or even if I want to go to the supermarket and pay with a card instead of cash. So really recommend Wise. There's no sponsor or anything. This is what I'm using out here, and so far it has saved me a lot of problems, and it has given me again access to online shopping and just back to using debit cards. Obviously there's other ones out there. Before I got Wise, I actually had a Revolut, and Revolut was fine, it was doing the job, but for me the biggest reason I changed was it didn't have the option to pull money from my Japan bank so I could send money back home, and that's why I switched to Wise, just because it gave me that option to send money back home. Also, one thing to watch out for the banks in Japan, obviously a lot of it is done based on ATMs. So the ATMs in Japan, obviously when you have your cash card, if you want to pull money from the cash card, you have to go to the bank's ATM to pull it out. So you put your card in, put your details in, you can pull your cash out. You can use the other ATMs in the area, but those ATMs will charge you a small fee to pull the cash out. So it is better to use your bank's ATM to get your money out so you don't get any fees. But your local bank's ATM will actually charge you a fee if you pull the cash out after 6 p.m. on a workday or on the weekend. I have been told by people there's a certain time on the weekend where they won't charge you a fee, but every time I've gone either really early in the day, lunchtime, or in the evening, I've still had to pay a fee on the weekend. So this could be different depending on the region. But yeah, weekends and after working time, if you use your local bank's ATM, they are going to charge you either 100 or 200 yen pulling cash out, as you're doing it after work hours or non-working hours. But that, I just find that really silly, because it's an ATM, it's 20, again, it's another thing, they might not always be 24/7, because after a certain time the ATM's shut, and that just blows my mind as well, because I'm like, it's a robot, doesn't need a break, but they like to give the robots a break. And if you do it out of working times, they're going to charge you a small fee to pull your cash out. So just make sure when you come to do it in kind of working times or just before 6 o'clock, you kind of have to work out all the cash you need for the weekend if you don't want to pay the fee to pull your cash out. And also, if you need some cash and you're going to explore outside of your prefecture of Japan, you kind of have to work out how much cash you need for the whole journey, because it's very unlikely you're going to find your bank's ATM outside a different prefecture. So you really have to figure out how much cash you want, because if you don't, you can use other ATMs in the other prefecture, but you're going to get charged a fee. So if you don't want to have the fees, you kind of have to work out how much cash beforehand while you still have access to your bank's ATM. So it's just kind of these small things you have to realise, just to kind of save yourself the few extra fees. Or having the international debit cards are also helpful for travel, because if you don't want to pay by cash, you can then put it on that card, and then you can also have all your different currencies. So then you can either get paid or you can charge it into your local yen, or if you don't have the yen and you've got it on another currency, they'll take it from the other currency, they'll do all the exchange rates and everything. So an international card I really recommend for being a foreigner out in Japan, just because it does save a lot of hassle down the line. Obviously there's other ones around, so have a look, see which one's best for you. But for me, I'm finding Wise very helpful, and especially if you can't get a debit card from your local Japanese bank, then the international ones will save your day. Same thing with, again, a lot of foreigners find it hard to get credit cards in Japan. Again, I think it's the flight risk. So before flying out, if you have the option or ability from your home country, then I recommend getting one before you come to move, just because then at least you've kind of got something if you have to put anything on a credit card for an emergency. Obviously, you know, be responsible with your money, because credit cards, you don't want to get any debt or anything. So just really be responsible, and you just kind of got like another safety net, because I've got a UK credit card. I don't always use it, it's only for emergencies. So I really recommend before coming to move, try and get a credit card just for safety purposes. So the biggest thing I recommend is just make sure before you fly out, kind of get all your home countries kind of banking as organised as possible before you leave. Same thing if you want to get an international debit card, I recommend to get that before you move to Japan or whichever country you're thinking about going to, just because it kind of gives you one step up of like the ease or the transition from moving from leaving from your home country to the whole settling in process to Japan. Because I very much think obviously moving to another country is a huge step, and it is always just going to bring stress. I definitely think when you move to another country, the first 6 months is going to be the most stressful part, because you're trying to just organise everything. You're trying to get your bank accounts, your living accommodation, the things you need. Obviously, if you aren't good at Japanese or the language you're moving to, you know, you're just adding all these extra layers of stress that can happen when you do the move. So anything you can kind of set up before, I highly recommend to do it before you fly out, just to save any hassle down the line. But yeah, that's kind of my advice for the banking I've experienced so far. If this video has been helpful, leave a like. Anything else you want to know about Japan, put a comment down below. Please subscribe, because we're not that far from 100 subscribers, and I'd really like to get to 100, because then YouTube gives you the option for the kind of comments and post box. So I'd really like to show you guys some of the pictures I've taken in Japan, and also try and like chat with you guys a bit more. So please help me get to 100 subscribers so I can get that box open, so I can just kind of show you some more things about Japan. But I'll see you in the next Japan related video. So bye.